Thank you, Bobby. Well, hello to lots of friends and colleagues. I'm one of the lucky ones. I get to live here. I've lived here for about 30 years, and I've had most important piece of my professional career here in New Orleans, and it's been a privilege for me. Over the next couple of minutes, Valerie Robinson and I want to take you through the team and the talent that we've brought to bear for the possibilities of working in some of the neighborhoods. As we put together this team, I was interested in the opportunity of leveraging up and leveraging from local intelligence to national expertise, because I think what's happening here in New Orleans is of global consequence. We're one of the first-tier cities that is dealing with a natural and a man-made disaster, and how we deal with that and how we make our city and recover our city and put ourselves and our families back together, I think is going to be a roadmap for a lot of other cities. So I'm excited about the idea of doing it. As we put together our team and our experts, I wanted to reach out to a 30-year professional network, 30 years of work from the New Orleans base. I got Alex Krieger from Chan Krieger Seidowitz in Boston, and also Bill Moorish, a great national talent and a critic of urban design from the University of Virginia in Charlottesville. This represents our core team. And we began talking about now. Now is the attitude of our community, now is the attitude of our particular team. We think the time of recovering our individual balances is now about to end. It's been 11 months. We've gotten ourselves organized, and we need to get on with the planning of our community. So as we put together our team, we decided that we would just sort of position our team as now, and it's helped us sort of think through the urgencies. We're prepared to go to work with this team as a joint venture team for making ourselves available to the neighborhoods. And we have 6 core members of our team, but we also have 15 other members, because we think that there's a series of things that we need to make available to the neighborhoods. In watching the work that UNOP did and identifying the range of services, we think within our core team we certainly have planning. I think I represent, after 30 years, a knowledge of the local turf, and with Alex, who's been working here in New Orleans, a national perspective, and Bill Moorish with a national perspective. But we want to balance that with Valerie and her outreach and communications that we'll talk about in a minute, disaster mitigation with Plan Ready from Morgan Hill, California, and also with Jane Booth, who spent 8 years on the City Planning Commission and is very knowledgeable in land use and planning. We have opened up a website for nowplanning.com. I'll spare you going through the roster of all of our other 15 members, but I will tell you that we have specialists of national expertise in housing. We have locally, we have Jay Weigel with culture and Dr. Tom Farley with public health. We have engineering and infrastructure, heavy-duty engineering, both landside and marine. We have economics and job growth, outreach, and communications that we've been working with strategies with Robbie Vetrano and Trumpet there. But if you go to the website at nowplanning.com, you'll have more detailed information on those individuals. Give you a quick taste of the kinds of things we've been doing. And most of this is the work I've been doing with our firm, Escu Dumas Ripple, since the storm. We've had the privilege, and I do say it's the privilege, it has actually been one of the most transformative experience for me in planning, of being able to work with the Broadmoor Group and LaToya Cantrell. If there was ever a fiercely self-determinant neighborhood in New Orleans, it's at Broadmoor as an example. They have been working, I think, since about November. And it was a privilege for us to work with them and help to bring sort of some detail and some communications, some graphic communications to their plan. We've also been working with Xavier University and Dr. Norman Francis and the disasters that they had on that campus. We're now doing not only some recovery planning, but also some long-term strategies for the ongoing development of that campus. And it touches and sort of kisses the top part of Broadmoor. And even with Dr. Francis and with Broadmoor, we've been talking about the synergy that happens around those neighborhoods in Gert Town. Okay? We've been working down in the Lower Garden District along the river in the waterfront and stitching those neighborhoods together and looking at the scale differences between the waterfronts in our neighborhoods and historic neighborhoods and the waterfront development as it pushes upriver. And we've also been doing some work for various groups in trying to remind people that the storm was a storm that affected all of us, all 73 neighborhoods, the dries, the medium wets, the deep wets, and all of that. And we've been trying to sort of advance conversations that if we're going to deal with the opportunity here, we have to deal holistically. Alex Krieger and his firm have been here in New Orleans recently. They've been helping out as members of the team for the Canal Street planning work. David? And also, Alex's firm has been involved in the vision plan for Pittsburgh and the neighborhoods on 2 or 3 sides of the rivers in Pittsburgh. And also in Washington, D.C., with a framework plan that involves both waterfronts and lots of established neighborhoods. And then Bill Morrish, as a great author and a writer and an urban critic, and one of his major publications, Planning to Stay. We've also found another neighborhood resource, which is Plan Ready from Morgan Hill, California, which is a disaster mitigation and evacuation planning firm. And they've been working with the Broadmoor area, and they've also been working with another long-term client of ours, the Museum of Art here in New Orleans, for disaster mitigation. And they've put together for Broadmoor a plan for sort of drilling down and making every block captain in every block and all the way down, David, the next one, all the way down to individual buildings where you got detailed information for evacuation planning. I think this is some of the state-of-the-art, neighborhood-based evacuation and mitigation planning in the country. In all of the time that I've been doing the work, last 11 months and then years before that, I always look for signals coming from the groups that I work with, and it's clear to me in the work since the storm in the last 11 months, there's about 5 or 6 things that have been reoccurring. One is the notion from the neighborhoods, what the neighborhoods want when people go to the neighborhoods and work with them, whether professionally or volunteer. They want them to know how to listen. They want to know how to communicate, and this is where Valerie is going to help us, because quite often the communications is not high-tech communications and the BlackBerries and the computers, most everybody here in this room, but a lot of it is face-to-face with a lot of our community that is a bit shy about some of the technology.
Thank you. I have about 20 years of experience in doing community outreach and working with different segments of the New Orleans community, and the exciting thing that, like Alan said, I mean, listening is so vitally important, but you also have to process that information and you have to respond to people. So that's key to that part of the communication. But I think the big question, I know tonight, one of the biggest questions that we, over and over again, people were asking, how are you going to get people out to meetings and how are you going to get, find these people? And I was lucky enough to work as part of a team on the Bring New Orleans Back Commission to do just that, and we worked in the communities throughout the country where there are large numbers of displaced residents. And we did a lot of different things. I mean, a lot of it was internet driven, obviously, and that works for a large segment of the population, but it doesn't work for everybody. And we found that you have to do a lot of collaborative things, and we worked with Catholic Charities, we worked with a lot of other nonprofits that were working in those communities and in New Orleans to find those people, to disseminate information, to get them out to meetings, and we use surveys and other ways of pulling information from them when you can't, in fact, have everybody at a meeting. And certainly the video teleconferencing is a wonderful way to do something. It's very expensive. I mean, all the technology is there to do whatever it is that can be done to get the messages to people and to get their input and to include that in the plan. The resources to that, I mean, simply what I call seeing somebody's face and knowing somebody and knowing that they're in the community and working in the community. And really that's, I think that's the key to how this is going to work. I mean, I think that the neighborhoods have to be able, the information has to come up from the neighborhoods. I mean, you have to have that as part of the whole process or the process is not going to work. So that's really about it.
We also know from the neighborhoods that they want the planners to know that the history and the culture of each neighborhood is unique, They also want to know that storms are going to continue to come, and that the security and the planning and the reconstruction we do now is going to come back to us in terms of how we handle the next season. Accountability, what we say, what we planners say, at least for our planning team, means something, and you can hold us accountable. And lastly, and most importantly in all of this, it's about dealing with diversity and unity in our neighborhoods. We believe that the planning must, at every level of the planning, be done with social justice. We're committed to now working in a planning group that brings a lot of talent to bear, and we look forward to working with some of the neighborhoods here in New Orleans. Thanks.